I understand you're from Brazil. So can you tell me something about Brazil that you wish Americans really could experience or know better, just to warm up our audience so they get a feel for you?
Well, I'm from Rio de Janeiro, and there's no sunset like the sunset in Ipanema Beach, where I live.
Mm.
I think I wish people could experience that in my life. But the sunset in Ipanema is just one of the most beautiful things that I've seen in my life. Um, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, you've been acting for a while, looks like from birth, it must have been because you're a young person, appearing young person. Tell us a little bit about your background so my audience can understand what we're getting ready to get into.
I started I started working with music when I was 4. I won my first singing competition when I was 4, and there is where everything started. I came with a family of artists. My dad started as a model, and then transitioned to acting, did a little of directing. I was raised by my stepmother, who did a big career as a model. And then I'm so sorry. And then and then I did my first musical when I was 13. I did a little TV. I'm so sorry. I'm in a hotel and
Oh, that
I
happens.
don't even know how to turn off these things. Um, I started, yeah, I and then I did a little of, I directed a little. I always produced my music. Um, and 4 years ago, I decided to challenge myself. I always wanted to make an international career and being an actor here in America. So I moved to New York, and now New York is home.
So there's a possibility we could cross paths. I was just looking on Spotify. Tell me, what songs would a person step into first to get a real feel of your style and who you are and your craft?
So I just after they slash them, I recorded an album called Darwin Del Fabro Revisiting Jabane. And this album, it means the world to me because Tom Jobim, who is a composer, a Brazilian composer, he recorded an album with Frank Sinatra in '69. Frank Sinatra
Mm.
called Jobim in Brazil and said, I want you to come to New York, and I want to record these songs with you, these compositions of Jobim, who was in the top of his game with bossa nova at that time. So I always loved that album and I wanted to revisit those songs. So I chose 6 of those songs, and I gave a little more of my identity and a little more
I,
swing and youth to it. So I mean, if you want to know, I think the last album is something that I'm very proud and is very recent. So
in
Darwin Del
one
Fabro
song in
representing
particular,
Juve.
in
It's
one song in
hard.
particular.
It's hard because I usually don't like long albums. I
Mhm,
always tend to go. My last album also has 6 songs. It's almost like
mhm.
called an EP, and I'll go with the path of I need to love 100% this 6 songs. If I do not have one more song, I will not add there. Is that sounds kind of like cool, but I don't. You're not going to see my album. So I'm really every single song tells a little about me. I love the song of the Sabia, which is
Mhm.
I think the track number 3 in this album. Um,
I see it as number 5. I see
Number
number 5.
5. Oh, so you know more than me. Yes. So Song of a Sabia, it's just beautiful. I mean, water to drink. I do a little more of rock and roll, which I I I love rock too, and I work in London in a rock band for six
Nice.
months. So it's a little of like that experience of putting everything together, a little of Brazil, but a little of, my love for musicals, my love for rock. And I tried to get everything together, towards my art.
So I know exactly what a person needs to understand about you to really know you, and is that music is at the core of it. Your heart and soul has a song, and you, my friend, represent so much. Just the just you in general, just being there in the space, coming from Brazil to New York as a young person, just following your heart. And I mean, it doesn't hurt you had those good genes from your modeling dad. So that's a good thing. But I mean, let's get down to the business of things. These platforms that are streaming, like we know you are starring in They Them, which will actually start streaming on Peacock
Yeah.
early August,
Okay.
August 5th. Yeah, and it basically the plot is that it's a conversion camp. It's like LGBTQ plus nightmare, hell, horror flick come to life. Teenagers end up there. A plot ensues that includes, a masked killer. But these platforms that are all making original content really speak to visibility and representation. So, do you think having more of these will get to have more voices, more faces, more experiences represented? And what does it mean for you in terms of opportunities?
There's so many good things together here. Is the first original Peacock movie. They're doing like their first debut with an original, and that means a lot. It's the debut of John Logan, a writer that I love, and now is directing his first movie. And and all together doing a celebratory message, and putting queer kids as the center of a story, which we haven't seen much
Mhm.
in the genre that I love. I love horror movies. I'm a big fan.
Really?
I'm a big fan of Blumhouse. Just like if I go Saturday night and I want to watch something and I see there is a new Blumhouse movie, it's that guarantee that I'm going to see something with good quality. So I'm feeling very honored to be part of the fun of horror, but also with a message, also
Mhm.
with something that people will care about, and we will bring joy, but also an important, I think, message related to strength, and making sure that, you know, the youth kids and young kids in their houses will feel heard and listened, and realize that, their uniqueness, I think, is their strength, and there's nothing wrong with them. And I mean, that's the power of cinema for me. When I start to talk about cinema, the images are so right there, and seeing those kids arriving at Whistler Camp, and the diversity that we have
Mhm.
there, and how we're celebrating that, is just, it's very moving for me. So I hope it moves like the audience as well.
Well, I can tell you from first glance, and being of many other generations away from you, I think about Friday the 13th. I think about being a teenager and being horrified, scared to death. And then when I found out about, they, them, and you, I thought, how am I going to relate to such a young, wonderful artist, creative? And then I was thinking, everybody's had that experience of being a young teenager, and the sense of agency that you get from seeing yourself reflected, even in fun, even in horror. I mean, it feels like a rite of passage. It feels like we're moving things along the needle forward, or moving the time forward. And I'm really excited to hear, what is that message, or what do you think is that kernel that the young person, the 15, 14, 16 year old that's going out to the movies and going to get, I mean, excuse me, they're going to be watching it streaming on Peacock, but the same experience. I used to go to the movies, but now they put it on TV. Um, what's that experience going to be like for them? And what are you hoping? And you answered this a little before, but let's crystallize that they take away from it.
Yeah, as I mentioned, it's just your uniqueness is your strength. And
Yeah.
you need to make sure that there's nothing wrong with you, that you're perfect just the way you are. And I'm glad that I'm being able to help. I mean, I, as a Brazilian actor, I haven't seen myself on the screen here in
Mhm.
America. And I always younger, I always wanted to be that person who, like, oh, do you think it's possible to have, build an international career or have like similar images as my image there? I didn't have that, unfortunately, but the world is changing, and I just hope now serve as inspiration to those other artists who are going there. And I hope they can see that that is possible, but also it's possible in a way that you're not trying to fit in kind of like an
No,
industry. Like your strength is celebrating who you are. If you have long hair, if you have, I mean, if you want to celebrate
have
your
a big
queerness,
nose, big ears, whatever. Show up.
that's you. And just like that's what we want to see more and more on screen, your identity. So that's the message that I hope that and you were talking about a little about generations, and
Mhm,
it's about sympathize with others and about to
mhm.
understand the other. We don't need to be like someone else to
Right.
identify or celebrate. I think that's what the world needs more than ever right now. They need
I love
to
that.
The communities needs to come together. And I think that's what the horror movie does. We are putting everyone together to have fun, to be scared, and to just enjoy diversity, I think.
Yeah, I think that point you're making, it's about the humanity. Of course, I can relate to it. Of course, I can relate to your heart wanting to be one of the deliverers of a message to people. And I'm wondering, where were you and how old were you when you had the first idea that maybe, I want to do this little spark, and that it actually is here. So we're looking at you having had that experience. Tell us about that.
That family helped, because I've
Okay.
seen my mother and father in this business, and I was always behind the cameras, just um, noticing how how is the industry, especially in Brazil, more than ever. I
Mhm.
think I think the first time was when I was 3 years old, and I got a microphone and said I want to sing, and for me, singing is acting, is dancing. I think people like to separate one thing to the other, and I train all of those things. I think my voice as a singer relates to my voice in acting, and relates with the way that I express my body, the way that I dance, in a way, because dance is move, so it's all connected. I just learned towards the years to kind of put all those things together, train those skills, and then from there find the uniqueness that I want as an artist. So yeah, since I
Yeah,
don't remember,
following that,
I don't remember when I
but
started.
young,
Very
very
young,
young, and
very young.
obviously the inspiration from your parents. But people now can tap into that. I mean, the world is a couple of clicks away on a computer or your phone, so they can
Yeah.
get that inspiration, even if it isn't in their own families. So, I'm wondering the business of being you. What's that like? I mean,
The business
how are you
of
going to conquer the world?
Oh, I was hoping you would give me that answer. I'm still searching. I I think I'm in a very good moment in my life where I at least have a focus of knowing who I am, and
Mm,
celebrating um that there is a path for diversity in this industry. And I'm being surrounded by people who wants to listen what I have to say and wants to collaborate. And just like John Logan, it's a perfect example, our writer and director. I've found there like a director who wants to, he's always thinking 5 steps ahead of his time. That's why he's the genius artist that he is, because he wants to, since the very beginning of this process, celebrating my uniqueness, what is different, what you have to say, even with little choices that we're doing, we're like, I think I want to play an American character in the beginning, and then it was like, no, I think we're gonna do it with my accent, and because I haven't seen there, let's bring that uniqueness to this role. Let's celebrate that. And he was like, absolutely. And I'm working with him in another movie right now, where he's giving me credits as a producer as well. So it's just like
Whoa.
counting in that world of and being surrounded by artists who really intrigued and interested on my voice and my perspectives of things. It means the world to me. So it's just trying to focus more and more of being truthful to my essence and giving my truthful opinion about things. I think that's the goal.
Sound advice. And I'm wondering, with the idea of working with Kevin Bacon, right, and intergenerationally, what's it like to do that? And what do you gather, besides John Logan, just this experience of older people that have been in the craft a long time? And while you're doing that, give us some hints about your character. What's going to happen?
Okay, so Kevin, first of all, Kevin is just, I don't believe it. It's a masterclass. It's a masterclass watching. I picture myself in Brazil watching Friday the 13th. Young and having Kevin doing his first movie in the summer camp, and then I'm here with him doing my debut in the summer camp. It's just like life is too good. And it's just seeing him not only on camera, but how he act. I'm very intrigued about actors, especially actors who have been build a career for so long, how they act and they concentrate and they treat others. And working with Kevin, you understand why he has been in this business for so long, because he really special. He's so talented, but also he makes sure that you okay and you feel comfortable, and he wants you to bring the best. He doesn't mark when you're like, when it's your take. He doesn't mark. He's giving 100% of himself, and that's so good to see it. And Gabriel, it's a fascinating character. It's just I'm so lucky to be doing this role. He's very mysterious. He's an outsider. He starts the movie very shy, very delicate, fragile, and seeing the other kids there, he builds his strength, and it's beautiful, and have the opportunity to play a role with such a range of emotions as Gabriel in this movie.
I want to make a prediction, and I think I'm going to be safe in doing so. I think your role and what you're doing is going to heal generations and across continents, right? I mean, on so many levels, this has so much depth. The idea that a teenager can be watching this on Peacock, and by the way, we need to figure out where the watch parties are going to be and all of that stuff. I'm going to be in on it, get my popcorn. Please. But I'm also thinking about the older people who are going to be reflecting on if and when they were young, if there could have been a Darwin on screen, international, with the accent and everything. Yeah, I mean, that I know that will change the trajectory for people behind us, but also for the people here who have to kind of recover from harms and dangers and just bad things that have happened to them. Like, you're bringing this possibility of something that they probably thought was never going to be possible. So I get so much inspiration watching your smile, and I can't wait to watch to know that I actually talked to Darwin, and it was the inclination at 3 years old to have a microphone and just shake your tail feathers, just do it all. I just love it, love it, love it.
Oh, I wish I have interviews like yours, just like you've been so nice and so kind. Thank you so much for your words. Yeah, it's the power of cinema, you know. That's that it's the thing that I believe the most right now, just like images and how powerful images are. And we
And
see that.
sound.
And sound
And sound.
and
I
sound.
can't wait to experience your music. So when we actually share this with our audience, I'll actually add links so they can listen to your music. And I am a newfound fan, and I absolutely adore this opportunity to talk to you. I know we're out of time because you are a busy, busy person, and also see if we can revisit and do some posts. It's out
Yes.
now, what's happening. That would be so much fun. And I'd have a Gen Z person interview you, like a real young person who's seen it, you know.
Oh,
Don't,
yeah.
no more old people coming to talk, but like,
But I
those
want,
people
I
would
want
be,
your opinion. I want your smile, and I
okay,
want
well,
your opinion,
welcome.
because that's the embracement of it. It's just beautiful. It's beautiful that we can have that conversation. You know what I mean?
Okay,
It's
I
just,
can do that.
that's
I'm gonna make
wonderful.
it happen. And I
Yeah,
have a mini me. I have a mini me.
great. I want the
And
mini
she,
you.
so mini me
Yeah.
is gonna come. We'll let her do the
We're
interview,
gonna put
and I'll
everyone
be there.
together and you know what I mean, and celebrate and seeing the different perspectives. I think we focus on 7 kids here in this movie,
Mhm,
so it's just it's interesting for me to find who you identified with,
mhm.
what are the experiences. And sometimes you're going to identify, that's what a good script does, right? You just like, you then identify with more than one, or like there are these things that I identify more with you know, with this character than the other, and that's the magic of it.
I
Seeing a
love it.
bit
I
of
love it.
myself.
So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank
And
you. Thank you.
if you need anything from me, let me know, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you. And sorry for the phone. I will try to disconnect this thing for next time.
Yeah, don't worry about that, my friend. That's not a problem at all.